What we saw transcended just simply minor traffic violations. What we were able to get from the public and what we were able to observe ourselves through our investigation were people who just absolutely had total disregard for the safety of themselves and for others. So with this, we understood the importance of being able to act appropriately to do what we could to be able to keep our community safe and our roadways safe. So there should be a crystal clear message to everyone that we were able to use the state statutes that are involved in this to where we could apprehend and confiscate vehicles. So behind me you see more than a dozen vehicles that were involved in the street racing that we have confiscated as a result of this investigation. That's just a small sampling of what we were able to do and what we were able to accomplish this morning during the operation. A lot of hard work's going behind the scenes. The officers that have been involved in this, the investigation, we've been working very hard since October, as mentioned, and this is something that really came to fruition today that we will continue to work on if the problem persists. So I want to acknowledge that District Attorney Spencer Mayweather couldn't attend today. However, Assistant District Attorney Bruce Lilly is here on his behalf. I'd like to invite him to the podium to say a few words as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Jennings. Good afternoon. Understanding that ethical guidelines prevent me from speaking on any individual cases, the District Attorney's Office is here this afternoon because of some great, productive, and community-oriented cooperation with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. We know that people across Mecklenburg County have felt the threat to public safety that organized street racing and the commandeering of our interstates has created, just as cities all across the Sun Belt of our countries have had similar experiences. Even at a time when resources in our court system are strained, District Attorney Mayweather made it clear to our law enforcement partners that he would dedicate staff in his office to work with and advise the street racing task force, and that his office would prioritize these cases for prosecution, which can result in car seizures as well as the loss of license upon conviction. We hope that the coordination that we have established for confronting this threat to public safety can be a model for other communities who are facing similar challenges. We still have a long way to go, but we are happy to stand with our partners today to announce these first steps in this initiative.
And now to speak with us further on this specific operation is Major Dave Johnson of the Special Operations Bureau. Major.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. The activity we're talking about today coincides with a national trend known as hooning. Hooning is aggressive, brazen driving, reckless driving activities such as burnouts, donuts, street racing, both spontaneous and prearranged, that places the participants in danger, places the motoring public in danger, and those who come to spectate and participate in that are certainly placed in danger as well. This aggressive and reckless driving, as I said, was brazen. And the activity was so dangerous and so prevalent that we received multiple complaints from our community stakeholders, from citizens of the community, from business owners about this type of activity. And so in October of this year, we started a focused enforcement campaign to address this behavior. That campaign resulted in more than 2,500 traffic stops and included over 3,500 separate violations as a result of those 2,500 traffic stops. Included in those charges were 2,100 speeding charges, 400 reckless driving violations, 32 DWI violations, 10 charges of spontaneous racing, and more than 1,000 other charges that we were able to detect and charge folks with. Included in those stops, we were able to seize 4 illegal guns and take those dangerous weapons off the street as well. During these enforcement operations, we would often encounter large groups of vehicles that would gather in different parts of the city. These gatherings would number in the hundreds some nights, and some of those gatherings would result in certain individuals within the group engaging in very dangerous prearranged street racing. Earlier this week, we sought and received 167 grand jury indictments on 54 such individuals for the charge of prearranged street racing. This particular charge authorizes us to seize the vehicles that were utilized as part of the prearranged street racing. Early this morning, we conducted a regional roundup for these individuals and charged those individuals and seized the vehicles that you see here, as well as other vehicles. Today's efforts resulted in 51 charged individuals and 58 vehicle seizures, which we now have an update. That number's up to 60. So we seized 60 vehicles today, including the ones that you see here. In addition, if you or your vehicle was observed at any of these meetups where the reckless driving or the street racing was taking place, you'll be receiving a letter in the mail very soon from Chief Jennings detailing the charges that you could be subject to, and respectfully requesting that you cease and desist in participating or attending these such gatherings and activities. The monumental work that has gone into this cannot be understated, and wouldn't have been possible without the work from our CMPD Transportation Division, Criminal Intelligence Division, our Aviation Unit, multiple patrol divisions, in particular the Steel Creek Division, who has been dealing with this issue for quite a while, our Vice and Narcotics Division, and our Real-Time Crime Center. We'd like to thank the following agencies for their assistance in this endeavor to make the streets of our city, our county, and our region safer for the motoring public. The Mecklenburg County District Attorney's Office, the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office, the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, the Iredell County Sheriff's Office, the Union County Sheriff's Office, the Gaston County Police Department, the Matthews Police Department, the Huntersville Police Department, the Cornelius Police Department, Cabarrus County Sheriff's Office, Rowan County Sheriff's Office, York County Sheriff's Office. Our sincere hope is that this will discourage anyone's inclination to engage in this type of behavior and this type of activity. However, as the chief mentioned, we will continue to be vigilant and be on the lookout for this type of activity, and we'll continue to enforce the law as necessary. With that said, I will take any general questions that you have in regards to this particular activity.
Any kind of resistance when trying to take the cars? Anybody trying to
No, fortunately today we did not. So most of the cars were handed over, the car keys were handed over, and we were able to take those folks into custody or charge them accordingly without any force being used.
questions back?
Yes, be glad to. The question was any force? Did we encounter any resistance or any opposition emotionally and verbally? But no force was used in the seizing of these vehicles today.
What happens to the cars?
The question is, what happens to the cars? So they enter into the court system. The defendants and the vehicles will eventually become part of a court case that goes before a judge, and a judge will determine the ultimate outcome of these vehicles. But that could include permanent seizure and selling at auction.
But for now, these won't go back to their owners until court orders them?
Correct. Unless a judge releases this vehicle back to the owner, they will remain in storage. Yes, ma'am.
Major, is there a specific area in Charlotte where the street racing typically happens, time of day, and is it the same group of people?
The question was, is there a particular part of town or a time of day or group of people that was engaging in this activity? What we can say is it happened all over city, right? All over the city. So from University City Division down to Steel Creek Division, North Division to South Division, there was not any particular part of the city that was immune from this activity. It's primarily a weekend activity, so we had officers that sacrificed their nights and weekends to come in and address this and tackle this problem. So we're very proud of the work that was done there, and the suspects that we charged in this is really a cross section of our community in regards to race, age, and other demographics. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
What kinds of charges?
Primarily prearranged racing, but the charges that I detailed earlier also as part of the enforcement campaign, a lot of speeding, a lot of reckless driving, some spontaneous racing, which is differentiated from the prearranged racing, which allows us to seize these vehicles.
So we're not talking about, are we talking about maybe some serious prison time here, or maybe just,
The question was, are we talking about serious prison time? So these are misdemeanor charges. So that ultimately will be at the determination of the courts.
Nature, let me just get down to the degree. I think we've alluded to it. I mean, I've been on the street and on the highways in particular and noticed lately, as you heard, it just seems like a lot more aggressive driving out there. We're all at risk.
Sure. The question was that they've noticed aggressive driving on the street that puts our citizens at risk. Absolutely. That's the whole point of us conducting this operation. When our stakeholders tell us that it's a problem and we notice ourselves that it's a problem, we're going to tackle it. And we're going to use every tool at our disposal to achieve our goal. And I think we demonstrated that we're perfectly willing and able to do that today. Are the cars illegally modified? Not being a mechanic, I don't necessarily know that. A lot of them are modified and upgraded and souped up to improve their chances at the racing, certainly. And some of them may be so modified that they can't be auctioned off, but ultimately that's up to the judge to determine.
Did any of these races result in crashes or anything that harmed anyone?
Did any of these races result in crashes or anything that harmed anybody? We know just from our observations that there were crashes. However, when they're engaging in that type of illegal activity, they don't typically call us to come take a police report. So, any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Major. To our media partners, check your inboxes here shortly. We're going to be sending an email. I know we have highlighted a lot of really great work today, so that email is going to have an additional narrative, just putting it there in print for you as to everything that we've been doing, and also some links to some videos that have been floating around social media that our investigators have been able to specifically identify as taking place here in Charlotte that will illustrate some of that egregious driving and racing that the Major spoke to us about. Also in that email is going to be a copy of the letter from Chief Jennings that has been sent out to those numerous offenders. Thank you for your time, and as always, let me know if you need anything else. Thank you.